Curiosity lets me stay in the present moment. And curiosity is not outcome oriented, but it's process oriented. So it helps me paying attention to where I am and how things are at this moment and how they develop over time. Hi, and welcome to Lead Well. What expectations do you have for this podcast episode? Now, I'm curious to hear from you. And I am also curious whether I can meet those expectations. Aren't we all raising a lot of expectations, putting a lot of expectations in everything happening in our life? We expect the sun to rise next morning. We expect our paycheck. We expect our children to be well educated. So a lot of expectations that we have and also that we were confronted with in our lives. Like my teachers had a lot of expectations in me. My managers had a lot of expectations in me. And also my parents. My parents would probably not call it that, but I know that when I brought home a good grade, I got compliments and I got maybe even a little gift. So a lot of expectations in corporate, even our bonuses, our salary increases, the opportunity to get promoted, everything dependent on those expectations. And our rating said, well, she met expectations or she exceeded expectations, or sometimes, hopefully not, she did not meet expectations. So, what is this about these expectations? And I was not really questioning that because that was just what happened to me normally. And you probably already notice I'm using the past tense because then comes the trust technique. And in the trust technique, what happens is that if you have expectations, nothing works anymore. So when we work, for example, with a horse, horses lying down with people, with human beings is really rare because horses are flight animals, they are prey animals, and we people, we are predators, so we could harm them. And so naturally, horses would only lie down when they are in the herd in a very safe environment so that they knew there is no harm to be expected. With the trust technique, the way we work, we can create such a safe space for them so that they actually lie down. And guess what? A lot of clients that come to me, they have the expectation that their horses would lie down when we start working. And as I said, this is a guarantee for it not to happen. Because as soon as you have this expectation, the animal senses that, and there is tension in the air, and they will definitely not be so calm so that they would lie down. Now, this made me really curious because we have those areas where we have so many expectations, and then we have this other area, the trust technique, where we cannot have expectations. Now, the question is, well, when do we want to have expectations? Is it good in any circumstance? Or what could we replace it with? And you probably have already seen it in the title. I think we can replace expectations with curiosity. Now, let me share more about that and let's look into that in a bit more detail. So, when I, for example, work with a client and we have a coaching session, it happens to me sometimes, hopefully not that often anymore at least, that while the client talks about their situation, while they talk about their challenges, my little brain starts coming up with a solution that I think is the best solution for this client anyway. So the thing is, my brain thinks, Christine, you need to be helpful here. You should be able to help this person solve their issues. You should be able to offer values. You should be able to bring insight. And this makes me having the expectation that I need to come up with something for the client. This creates an internal state of tension for me because I'm no longer open to actually listen to this person. I'm no longer curious to hear more from them, to learn from them. And believe me, there were so many occasions where my little brain has already come up with a solution, and the client, because I learned to not talk out loud what I'm thinking, the client came up with a completely different solution that I never had thought about. And that was the perfect solution for them because it's their challenge and it's their solution and it's not what I thought. So, really catching myself, having this expectation to needing to help them to come up with a solution, this really is a bit tricky. Now, let's look into that. What about I replace those expectations with curiosity? Once I get myself in a curious state, I can listen for hours. I can reply to the client asking further questions, digging deeper, and really understanding where they're coming from, where they want to go to, and what they see as their solution. So, wow, this is where curiosity works perfectly instead of having expectations. The same as with the horses that I just mentioned. When we expect a horse to lie down, we think it needs to happen. That's what we work towards. And as we said, the horse, they sense the pressure. They stay alert because there is pressure. There is this sense of, ooh, something could happen. And they will definitely not lie down. So again, we can shift to curiosity. We can shift to, wow, I'm really curious how this horse will behave today. Really curious to be empathic with the client on the one side, but also with the horse to give them their space, to give them their opportunity to figure out what is happening today and to work with us, to communicate with us. It's a completely different set of communication and collaboration when I take away this judgment of, I know, because having the expectation not only of lying down, but everything the horse is doing is no thinking that I know better, that I know best what and how things should happen. And this is not the case. As soon as I work with somebody else, and even probably not with myself, because what is the difference? What kind of feeling, what kind of emotions do I generate when I have expectations? I once had a situation where I walked into a massage therapy room, and the therapist there, he said, well, Christine, what kind of expectations do you have for today? And in that case, I was lucky enough to already be able to say, I have no expectations because I want to experience what will happen. I want to experience what will happen with my body, how my body will react, how I will react after this session with you, and how it will all turn out. So, an expectation would have really narrowed down what I could have sensed, what I could have experienced. Because when I had an expectation, I would already have had a really clear picture in my mind of what I want the outcome to be. So an expectation is really tight. It's future oriented. It's always looking into the future and it's outcome driven. This is where I want to go to. While curiosity opens. Curiosity lets me stay in the present moment. And curiosity is not outcome oriented, but it's process oriented. So it helps me paying attention to where I am and how things are at this moment and how they develop over time. What is the process? And again, in the body, expectation is tension and curiosity is expansion. And I invite you to feel that for yourself because it's so easy to feel in your own bodies, hopefully. And also, when you think about emotionally, your feeling, when I have an expectation, I demand something. I expect it. I want to have it. While curiosity invites opportunities, invites new ways of doing. And there is an important thing to consider. It's not about not having goals. So it's always important, as we mentioned in earlier episodes, that we have something to work towards. But it's not the actual goal that's interesting and important. It's what we're doing in the moment and how we're getting there. So, yes, goals are useful, but the expectation often narrows down the way of how and when we want to achieve them. And if we're not getting there, we have a feeling of having failed, something's wrong, we're not good enough. While when we are curious about how we can achieve that goal, we can say, okay, I wonder how this might unfold. What else could we do to get us there? And if things don't go as planned, what can we do? How can we navigate to still stay on track? Because as we know, the road to a goal is usually not a straight line, it's usually a curve. That's why we also use the Neurographica line in Neurographica, because, yeah, our lives never go really straight. So, in practice, it's great to have a goal. It's great to have a vision. It's great to make a plan. But then it's really crucial to stay flexible and curious when reality surprises you. And especially then, because then you can readjust, then you can navigate through this process of achieving your goal. Now, we are probably all carrying silent expectations, and I invite you to figure out where this would be the case. Where are you carrying expectations without maybe even being aware of them right now? In your work, in your relationship, with your kids, with your animals, when you talk to yourselves? What is the expectation? What is the expectation setting? And how are you doing that? And try this. Pick one moment today or maybe this week and think about several situations and notice where you would have an expectation. Then do one of the little PQ reps, one of those little micro breaks that we have talked about, like putting two fingertips together, rubbing them so that you would notice the ridges on both fingers. Or close your eyes and breathe and focus on the temperature of the air when you inhale versus when you exhale. This really helps to bring you into the present moment. And as we've heard before, curiosity is in the present moment. So you can get curious and really ask, what's really happening here? What is it that I am currently thinking? Am I thinking about the hows and whens, or am I thinking about the process of how could I get there and all the different opportunities and all the different ways that I could use? And watch that shift in your relationships once you pay attention to your expectations and really exchange it with curiosity. Watch it in your working relationships, maybe at home, and of course also in the relationship with your animals, and also in yourself, in your body. And I really would be interested to hear what you discover. And I don't have any expectations of reading something from you, but I'm really curious to see whether some one of you has something to say about that. So have a wonderful week and stay curious. Bye for now. This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.